It's Friday night. Oh, yes, it is. Strictly Sports NFL Friday. Hello, friends. Anthony Floyer here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports NFL Friday. Afraid I have some bad news. Good old MF Michael Fletcher will not be joining us tonight. So the S Movement's going to be running this show for tonight. Myself and Michael Bullock here. We're going to be guiding you through week 9 of the NFL season already. My goodness. I mean, already halfway through. I mean, it feels like just yesterday this thing started, but my goodness, it's already flying by. And of course, what we saw last night was the Atlanta Falcons defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 43-28 on Thursday Night Football at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. The first one under the NBC umbrella with Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Heather Cox. And Matt Ryan, man, what can you say about him? I mean, what a phenomenal game he had. 344 yards, 4 touchdowns in the win. Definitely putting himself in front runner status for the NFL MVP award. And then from there, Mike Evans, the Tampa Bay receiver, made one hell of a catch, a one-handed catch, and then he ends up suffering a concussion out of it, and he's now under concussion protocol. So we don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I mean, reports of the Atlanta Falcons' demise greatly exaggerated. That's all I can say about that. I mean, everybody thought, it's gonna be just like last year. You know, they started off so hot last year, and then they cooled right off, and then it looked like the same this year, but they found a way to get it done, and now they've won 2 games in a row after they had lost, I believe, 2 in a row. So the Falcons are definitely right back in that NFC mix. If I'm going to be real honest, coming off that huge win against the Green Bay Packers in the Georgia Dome on Sunday, and then this big win last night against Tampa, which was expected. And we'll next see the Falcons next week. And boy, howdy, do they have another tough game ahead of them as they go up against the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, one of our games of the week next week. And as for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they go home. Well, they'll stay home, and they'll host their former division rivals, the Chicago Bears. So that's really all there is to say about that. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or I should say the Atlanta Falcons, rather, 43-28 winners over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just wanted to give you those couple of news updates. Don't really want to get too much into it because I want to get right into the games because we got some exciting games. So, Bullock, I don't know if you want to share a quick thought about last night's game. If you do, feel free, or if not, you can just move on. Your call.
Yeah, I'll just share a quick thought on it. I mean,
quick thought.
I thought the Falcons played a really good game here. Matt Ryan looked really good last night, and some even think that he's a contender for the MVP. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But, yeah, any talks of the demise of the Falcons, especially after that monumental collapse last year, well, let's just say last night they put that to bed last night, and they're going to be a worthy contender in the NFC. Whether they'll make it all the way to the Super Bowl, that's yet to be determined. So we'll wait and see how the rest of the season goes for them. So that's pretty much just my quick thought on it because we really want to get into the rest of these Week 9 games. Can't believe it's Week 9 already. I agree with you there, Florio. I mean, it seemed like it only seemed like a few weeks ago the season started, and here we are halfway through the year. So that being said, let's get into the Week 9 matchups.
And that's exactly what we're going to do right here and now. And no flex scheduling. All the games are where they're supposed to be, so there's no switches. So everything's going to be in perfect order this time, which I'm a fan of because that's how I like things in my life, in perfect order. So let's get into this. 6 teams again on bye this week. We have the Arizona Cardinals, the Chicago Bears, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Houston Texans, Michael Bullock's New England Patriots, and the Washington Redskins. Those are the teams that are on bye for this time around. So that means we have another short slate of games. We only have 12 games on our docket this time around. So just like we had last week. So just want to make sure I have all my liner notes ready to go here. So all right, we're just about ready to go here. So all right, here we go. First game on the docket for this week, and what a game it is. A renewal of one of the great divisional rivalries in recent memory. The Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Baltimore Ravens, M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. This game will, of course, be on CBS, and on the call for CBS, it'll be Ian Eagle, Rich Gannon, and Evan Washburn. Rich Gannon, I think, maybe filling in for Dan Fouts. I don't know what the story is on that, but I think they're switching up the crews here once again. So, yeah, I don't know what the story is, but all right. So I'm just trying to see if there's any information. So, all right. Ian Eagle, Rich Gannon, Evan Washburn, they're in Baltimore for that Steeler-Raven game. And believe it or not, there's one spread that has this as a NA. Two other spreads have the Ravens 2.5-point favorites, which I'm baffled. And one other has this as a pick'em game. That's very surprising. I believe this is the first of the two meetings. I don't think they've met in Pittsburgh yet, to the best of my knowledge. So as we look up the series history between these two, the Pittsburgh Steelers lead the all-time series regular season-wise 21-19. And the Ravens have actually won the last three meetings in a row between these two, because the Ravens swept both meetings a year ago, including in Baltimore, 20-17. And of course, it also goes back to that AFC wildcard game that went down in January of 2015, which the Ravens won on a Saturday night in Pittsburgh, 30-17. I remember that very well. Matter of fact, the Ravens have won, I believe, the last, three meetings now in Baltimore? Yes. They won last year, they won in 2014, and they won in 2013. Pittsburgh Steelers have not won in Baltimore since 2012. That was a 23-20 win for the Steelers 4 years ago. Now, you would think, with the history of these two teams, you would think the game rater would have rated it very high. You would have thought at least top 5, maybe top 3. It only came in at number 9, which is very surprising. A lot of things surprising about this. So let me start it off here. Close games are nothing new when these teams get together. Since 2008, 13 of the 16 meetings have been decided by 4 points or fewer. It is not surprising that this matchup is projected to be the closest game of the week, with the FPI favoring the Pittsburgh Steelers by 1 point. While there is a chance that Ben Roethlisberger will be able to go on Sunday, at this point, we just do not know. The Ravens aren't particularly good, but the Steelers starting Landry Jones is frankly bad news for them. I do think the Steelers are the better team, but the gap from Roethlisberger to Jones is just that large to where some think, unless the former is able to play, Baltimore could actually steal one here. I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. The Ravens are a mess. They're a hot mess. I mean, they started the year 3-0, and they've since lost 4 in a row. Steelers, on the other hand, I mean, they started hot, and then they've cooled off a little bit. Last time we saw them, of course, it was I don't believe they played last week. I think they were on bye last week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were on bye last week. The last time we saw them, they lost to Michael Bullock's Patriots at home. So a chance for Pittsburgh to right the ship here, and I think they will. There have been conflicting reports that Ben Roethlisberger could actually be going. I mean, I've been following a lot of the shows, and I've seen that some of the reports are saying that Roethlisberger is a go, could be a go. I know Michael Bullock's going to have that in his injury report in just a moment, but nonetheless, I just think the Steelers are just too good, and I don't trust the Ravens as far as I can throw them. Steve Smith Sr. Has not been the same. There's a chance he could be back, but I'm not sure if he will be. But I just think the Steelers are just the better team right now. And last time we saw the Ravens, they would lose. They lost to the Jets of all teams. The Jets. Good grief. But I got to go with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wins this game behind Landry Jones and behind Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown and company. So I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win it. Let me see. What do I have for a final score? I think it's going to be a little on the lower scoring side because these two teams tend to go low when they get together. I'm going to go 17-14. The Pittsburgh Steelers over the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore on Sunday. Roethlisberger or not. So that's my thought on it. Michael Bullock, you've got the answer. You got the injury report. Is Ben Roethlisberger a go or what?
All right. Well, I will get to that injury report right now. Ben Roethlisberger, I'll get to that right away. Right now they have him listed as questionable, so I get this feeling we probably won't know until game time when whether he's going to go or not. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, also William Gay with a foot injury is also listed as questionable, and same for running back D'Angelo Williams with a knee injury as well. So as far as the Ravens, when it comes to their injuries, when it comes to their key players, linebacker Elvis Dumervil with a foot injury and Ty Crockett Gilmore with a thigh injury. Those two are out. Linebacker C.J. Mosley with a thigh injury. Wide receiver Steve Smith with an ankle injury. Linebacker Terrell Suggs with a biceps injury. Ladarius Webb with a thigh injury, and Marshall Yanda with a shoulder injury. They're all listed as questionable. So, yes, I'm surprised that some are actually favoring the Ravens to win this game, even though, like you said, Florio, they've lost 4 in a row. I mean, yeah, Pittsburgh. They still might be without Ben Roethlisberger, and they might have to go with Landry Jones. Well, like I said, we'll see come game time. But the thing is, Pittsburgh's still the better team. I mean, you do have. You got Le'Veon Bell. You still got Antonio Brown, and yeah, I just don't see how they could be the favorites, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this one. I'm gonna move it up slight bit. I'm gonna say 20-14 is gonna be my final score. Expect good games from Le'Veon Bell on the running side and Antonio Brown to make some big plays. And the defense is going to be all over Joe Flacco. So, yes, there's really nothing more for me to say. So, Florio, let's move on to our next matchup.
And you're going to be starting it off. It's going to be the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Cleveland Browns, First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. And this game's going to be on Fox. And calling this game for Fox is going to be Tom Brenneman, back with his crew of Charles Davis, Chris Spielman, and Peter Schrager. And the spread has the Cowboys favored. 7 to 7.5 is the spread for Dallas. And the series history favors, let's see here, it favors the Cleveland Browns, 15 to 12 is that count. Their last meeting was in 2012. Dallas Cowboys won that one 23 to 20 in overtime. Matter of fact, they've won the last 3 meetings in a row, including the last meeting in Cleveland, which was in 2008. Cowboys won that one 28 to 10. last time the Cleveland Browns beat the Dallas Cowboys at home, you got to go all the way back to 1988. That was the last time the Browns won at home against the Cowboys. That was a 24-21 win for Cleveland on that day. So, and this, the Game Raider. Where did the Game Raider rank this? There's nothing left for me to say except those dreaded words. Zonk Game of the Week. Dead last, number 13. Wow, what a surprise. All right, Michael Bullock, Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, the Zonk Game of the Week. You started off.
All right, when it comes to the injuries, of course, quarterback Morris Claiborne with a groin injury and Tony Romo with a back injury. They're listed as out. Receiver Dez Bryant with a knee injury. Defensive tackle Malik Collins with a knee injury. Lance Dunbar with a knee injury. Tyron Smith with a back injury. And defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence with a back injury. They're all listed as questionable. And for the Cleveland Browns, the only big name, center Cameron Irving with a shoulder injury, is listed as questionable. So, yeah, I'm not going to waste any time on this one. I got the Dallas Cowboys winning this one big. So, Floyer, what's yours?
Yes, indeed. I got the Dallas Cowboys winning as well. But before I get into my final score and everything else, let me give you my liner notes. The Cleveland Browns might remain winless as the Dallas Cowboys are favored by 7 points, according to FPI. They are the largest road favorite of the week. At least the Browns appear to be getting closer to that elusive first victory, but it was disconcerting to see them fall apart the way they did against a bad Jets team. They'll get another chance here, but I don't see them being able to slow down the Dallas offense enough to pull the upset. Not only am I going with Dallas, but Dallas is my lock of the week. 24-10, Dallas Cowboys over the Cleveland Browns. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, huge games for them. They might be getting Dez Bryant back, and if they get him back, good grief, that's going to be even worse. And then on top of Terrence Williams and Jason Witten, and of course Cole Beasley, and that great offensive line of Dallas, which has been just absolutely rock steady for them. So really nothing left for me to say here except give me the Dallas Cowboys. Lock of the week, my friends. No doubt about it. 24-10. That's the final score. Dallas should have no trouble with the Brownies, especially in the dog pound, and make it 4 in a row in what is our Zonk Game of the Week for this week. All right, let's move on to our next matchup here. And we go back to the AFC side of the ledger as the Jacksonville Jaguars will be going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Arrowhead Stadium in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, rather. Just bear with me for a moment as I pull up their liner note, as I pull up their series history. All right. This game's on CBS, and calling the game for CBS will be Spiro Dedes and Solomon Wilcots. And the spread favors the Kansas City Chiefs from 7 to 8 is the spread, a 7 to 8 point spread for the Chiefs. And the series history favors the Jacksonville Jaguars by a count of 6-4. However, the Chiefs have won the last 2 meetings in a row. Last meeting was 2013 in Jacksonville, and the Chiefs won that game by a score of 28-2. Last meeting in Kansas City was 2010. The Chiefs won that one by a score of 42-20. Jaguars last beat the Chiefs in 2009. That was in Jacksonville. And Jacksonville's last win in Kansas City, 2007. That was a 17-7 win. That's back when they were actually good. And the Game Raider ranks this game at, believe it or not, number 7. How about that? Number 7. This could be the most lopsided game of the week, as the Kansas City Chiefs are the only 10-point favorite according to FPI. The Jacksonville Jaguars have lost their past 10 games against the AFC West. The Jaguars really looked terrible on Thursday night against the Titans at home, and it is becoming time to where Gus Bradley should get fired. I have no confidence in them, period, and especially not as they go to Arrowhead as they take on a pretty solid Kansas City club. So, needless for me to say, here's another lock of the week. I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game. My final score is 27-13. Kansas City wins. Alex Smith. We saw Alex Smith, but we also saw Nick Foles in action against New Orleans last week. But no matter who's the quarterback here, whether it's Smith or Foles, I expect them to have a solid game. I think they might be getting Jamal Charles back, and if that's the case, I expect him to go off. Travis Kelce, who had a huge game at tight end last week, over 100 yards last week in that win against New Orleans. I think he's going to have a big game, and Macklin and the rest of that unit. So Spencer Ware, I think he's going to get involved. So nothing left for me to say here. Kansas City Chiefs win this one. My final score is 27-13. They should have no trouble with Jacksonville whatsoever. Keep their winning ways going and keep things very, very interesting in that AFC West. Ain't that right, Bullock, as we go to you?
Yes, it is very, very interesting in that AFC West. As far as the injury report, Jared Odrick, defensive end for the Jaguars, with a foot injury, is listed as out. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, Spencer Ware, running back Spencer Ware with a concussion, is out. And Alex Smith, as you wanted to know, of course, he left last week with a head injury. He also is listed as out. So it looks like Nick Foles is going to get the start for this one. And Jeremy Macklin with a groin injury is listed as questionable. So, yeah, but either way, of course, this game is in Kansas City, and you know how loud it is at Arrowhead. So it's going to be another lock of the week here. I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning this one in a blowout. So there's really nothing more for me to say except, Floria, let's just move on to our next game. And it's a divisional matchup that we're all pretty familiar with.
Yes, indeed. It is it's in the AFC East. The New York Jets going up against the Miami Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. That's where this game will go down. And this game will be broadcast on CBS. And calling the game for CBS, it'll be the legendary Greg Gumbel, along with Trent Green and Jamie Erdahl. They will be at Hard Rock Stadium for the Jets and Dolphins. And the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, they're favored in this game by a spread of 3.5 to 4. And the series history favors, believe it or not, the New York Jets, 53 to 46. The one tie coming back in 1981. That was a 28-28 tie in Miami. Jets have won the last 3 meetings in this series. Jets swept both meetings last year. They did not play in Miami. They played in London, and the Jets won that one 27 to 14. Jets have won the last 3 meetings at the Dolphins, including that game in London. They won there in 2014, and they won there in 2013. Actually, they won the last They won the last 4 meetings in Miami. Jets also won in 2012. The last time the Miami Dolphins won at home against the New York Jets got to go back to 2011. That was a 19-17 win for the Dolphins at home. So that's that. And the Game Rater. Where did the Game Rater rank this matchup? Number 11. Coming in at number 11. So let me see here. I believe you start this one off, right, Bullock?
Yes, I start this one off.
All right. New York Jets, Miami Dolphins. Your thoughts on this AFC East showdown in Miami?
All right. Well, first starting off with the injuries. Center Nick Mangold is doubtful with an ankle injury. Tackle Ryan Clady with a shoulder injury, and defensive end Muhammad Wilkerson with an ankle injury. Listed as questionable. And for the Miami Dolphins, tight end Jordan Cameron with a concussion. Cornerback Xavier Howard with a knee injury. And tight end Deion Sims with a concussion. They're listed as out. And wide receiver Devontae Parker and with a hamstring injury, and tackle Laramie Tunsil with an abdomen injury. They're both listed as questionable for this game. So yes, let me see if I can pull this up. When it comes to this game, of course, Jay Ajayi began the season as an afterthought and was a healthy and active for the Miami Dolphins opening game. He is now attempting to become the first NFL running back to rush for 200 yards in 3 consecutive games. Ajayi's stunning emergence is energizing the Dolphins as they come off a bye and attempt to record their 3rd consecutive victory. The second-year player from Boise State rushed for 204 yards against the Steelers on October 16th and followed up with a 214-yard effort against the Buffalo Bills 7 days later. That made Ajayi just the 4th player to rush for 200 or more yards in back-to-back games, joining O.J. Simpson in 1973 and 1976, Earl Campbell in 1980, and former Miami star Ricky Williams in 2002. A 3rd straight 200-yard outing would be quite the feat, considering the Jets lead the NFL in rushing defense at 74 yards per game. Something surely has to give on Sunday. Ajayi sports a spectacular 6.4 yard average per carry heading into a game against a unit, allowing just a 3.3 yard average. The Jets are certainly only worried about themselves, too, heading into the contest against their AFC East rival. New York is seeking its 3rd straight victory as it tries to dig out of a 1-5 start. The squad had higher aspirations, and being 2 games below 500 at the midway point of the season is thoroughly disappointing to veteran linebacker David Harris. Turnovers plagued the Jets during their first 6 games, and they still rank last in turnover margin at -9. Quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick has been intercepted 11 times, but avoided the key miscue last Sunday in a 31-28 victory over the Cleveland Browns. Veteran running back Matt Forte helped fuel the victory by rushing for 82 yards and 2 scores. Forte has 542 yards and 6 touchdowns in his first season with the Jets after leaving the Bears as a free agent. His offensive coordinator with the Bears last season was Adam Gase, the first-year head coach of the Dolphins. While the Jets have excelled at stuffing ball carriers, they aren't so proficient against the pass. Quarterback Darrelle Revis is slipping and was beaten repeatedly by Cleveland receivers last Sunday. Jets coach Todd Bowles insisted Revis is healthy when pressed regarding the veteran's drop-off in play. New York is last in the NFL in pass defense, allowing 289 yards per game, and that could present opportunities for Dolphins quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who was thrown for 1,728 yards and 7 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. So, yes, because of that, I got the Dolphins winning this one. My final score, I'm going to say 34-17 is going to be my final score. I expect another big day on the ground by Jay Ajayi, and because of that terrible pass defense, I'm going to say Ryan Tannehill is going to have a solid game on the through the air. So so give me the Miami Dolphins to win this one. So Florio, I give it to you.
100 is the magic number for the Miami Dolphins. They are 3-0 when rushing for at least 100 yards and 0-4 when held to less than 100. The New York Jets allow a league-low 74 rushing yards per game and have allowed more than 90 yards only once. The Jets may be pleased with winning 2 in a row, but they really should not take that much solace in having to rally to defeat the worst team in football. Disappointment this season, Jay Ajayi has looked running the ball that they can slow him down. And after another middling performance from Ryan Fitzpatrick, I am lacking in confidence in that New York offense. So I agree with you, Bullock. I got the Miami Dolphins winning this game. My final score, I'm going to go I think it's going to be a little closer than you think because, the Jets have been playing a little better. But with this game being in Miami and with how well the Dolphins have been playing as of late, I got to go with the Dolphins here. My final score, 21-20, the Miami Dolphins over the New York Jets. I think Tannehill will have a fine game. Ajayi should have another big game. He's been playing very well as of late. The receiving core with Kenny Kenny Stills, and Landry. And I think the defense will make enough plays to get the win. So 21-20, that's my score. I'm going with the Miami Dolphins to win this game. And let's move on now to our next matchup. It's another divisional matchup. This one in the NFC North, or as they used to call it, the NFC Norris. As it's going to be the Detroit Lions going up against the Minnesota Vikings, US Bank Stadium in Minnesota. This game's on Fox, and calling this game for Fox, Kenny Albert, back with his crew of Daryl Moose Johnston and Laura Oakman. They will be at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis for the Lions and the Vikings. And the spread favors the Minnesota Vikings by a count of 6 to 7 points. And series history between these two favors the Minnesota Vikings 71 to 36 with 2 ties. First tie was in 1964, 23-23 in Detroit. And the other tie was in 1967. That was a 10-10 tie in Minnesota. And the Minnesota Vikings swept both meetings last year. They won both at home and in Detroit. Last year was a 26-16 win for Minnesota at home on the campus of the University of Minnesota TCF Bank Stadium. Last year before, 2014, that was the last time the Detroit Lions stole one in Minnesota. That was a 17-3 win for the Lions 2 years ago. Game Raider. This game cracked the top 5, believe it or not. This game came in at number 5. Number 5 game of the week right here. The Detroit Lions have trailed in all 8 of their games this season. Another comeback might be tough as the Minnesota Vikings have the best defensive efficiency in the NFL. The good news for the Lions is the Vikings rank 29th in offensive efficiency. It's a good thing that Minnesota was my lock this past week as they looked terrible against the Bears on Monday night. Sam Bradford got sacked 5 times as the offensive line is starting to fall apart. They have been a good home team this year, mind you, and the Lions may not be able to fully take advantage of Minnesota's problems along the offensive line. So, flip of the coin, I got to go with the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring this time around because all the games at US Bank Stadium have been on the low scoring end as far as I know. So I got to go with Minnesota. My final score is 16-13. Sam Bradford will have a decent enough game. The running game, I don't think it's going to be much of a factor. Stephon Diggs, Kyle Rudolph, I think they'll make some plays. And I think that defense is going to be the key to that win because that defense has been, rock solid for Minnesota this year. So, and especially after that piss-poor performance against the Chicago Bears on Monday night. Where did that come from? Goodness gracious. But they played very well at US Bank Stadium. I don't think they've been beaten there this year. I think they're undefeated there so far, and I can't see the Lions stealing one at that beautiful new stadium. So 16-13, Minnesota Vikings over the Detroit Lions. So Michael Bullock, Lions and Vikings, and at the beautiful new US Bank Stadium. Can the Vikings right the ship after back-to-back piss-poor performances against Philly and Chicago, or what?
Yeah, of course, starting off with the injuries, of course, for the Lions, linebacker DeAndre Levy with a knee injury is out. Defensive tackle Haloti Ngata with a shoulder injury, and running back Theo Riddick with an ankle injury. They're listed as questionable. And for the Minnesota Vikings, Sharif Floyd with the knee injury is out. Guard Alex Moon with a concussion is also out. And Jerick McKinnon with an ankle injury is listed as questionable. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't see this coming with the Vikings losing big to the Bears on Monday night. I mean, I had Minnesota winning this one, and yeah, what happened there? It was just a piss poor performance by them. I think they'll bounce back in this one. I can't see them losing 3 in a row, their offense is so bad they fire their offensive coordinator North Turner. So we'll see how they do under this new offensive coordinator. So, but I got them winning this one. I'm going to say Minnesota 20 and the Detroit Lions 17. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say except Florio. Let's move on to our next game, and this is another divisional matchup.
And it's the first of the two meetings this year. And oh, by the way, two quick things, Bullock. It's also the first of the two meetings between the Lions and the Vikings. The other one is going to be very soon after Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day, Vikings and Lions at Ford Field. That's the first game. That's the early game on CBS, 12:30 kickoff on Thanksgiving. And of course, I can't believe I forgot about it. Since we're going with the Vikings, fire up the flugelhorn. Yeah. Yeah, gotta love that flugelhorn, baby. Buddy. Yeah, we're gonna hear that. We're gonna hear that aplenty coming up. So, all right. And another divisional matchup, and this is also our last 1 o'clock game. And boy, howdy, is it a big one! The Philadelphia Eagles going up against the New York Giants, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, and this game will be on Fox. We're going to get this game on our Fox affiliate, Fox Providence. I forgot to mention we're going to be getting the Jets and the Dolphins game on our CBS affiliate, WPRI 12. We're getting Eagles and Giants on our Fox Providence affiliate. And he's going to be back, fresh off his epic, and I do mean epic, call of the World Series and the baseball playoffs all together. Maybe his best work ever when it comes to that. He's back, boys. The man himself, Joe Buck. He'll be reunited with his partners, Troy Aikman and Aaron Andrews, as they will be at MetLife Stadium for the Eagles and the Giants on Sunday. It'd be great to hear him. I mean, it's going to be I'm going to wonder if he still has any voice left after.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I mean, I wonder if he's going to have any kind of voice after that final out in Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah, and the voice cracked. I mean, he squealed. I mean, he had a squeal moment. It was awesome. But nonetheless, getting back to this, the Giants.
I wonder if it'll be like what happened at the beginning of the 2011 season when he had a little problem with his voice.
Well, he was going through a throat illness. He had like vocal cord problems at that point.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did after what we saw in Game 7.
Yeah, but we'll wait and see. Giants. The Giants are the favorites. They're favored by 1 to 3 points. And the series history also favors the New York Giants. Very lengthy history here. 82 to 78 with 2 ties. And let me try to find those 2 ties real quick. First one was in 1944. That was a 21-21 tie in Philadelphia. And the other one came in 1973. That was a 23-23 tie in New York. Eagles have won the last 4 meetings in a row, which means the Eagles have swept both meetings. They swept both meetings last year, and they swept both meetings the year before. Eagles have won the last 3 meetings in New York. Last time the Giants won at home against Philadelphia, got to go back to 2012. That was a 42-7 beatdown. And the Game Rater, where does the ESPN Game Rater have this game? In the top 3. Number 3. This is the number 3 game of the week. Go Bullock, you get to start this one off, man. One of our top 3 games of the week, according to the Game Rater. And they've given us some memories, especially in New York. So, are they going to add to that?
Let's not forget one of them, Florio. The Miracle in the Meadowlands from 2010.
Joe Buck was there. He had that was another one of his great calls. Deshaun Jackson with that punt return touchdown. I remember that very vividly. Watching that with my dad, I remember that very well. So,
and if you go on the NFL's YouTube page, that game is on there, the full game.
So, all right, Bullock, Eagles Giants, number 3 game of the week. Your thoughts on this huge game in the NFC East?
Yeah, and as far as the injuries, from what I see, no real big names when it comes to the injury report. So, nothing for me to report when it comes to the injury side. So, yeah, Two teams dealing with off-the-field problems will square off on Sunday. The Eagles traveled to MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford against the Giants. Both squads will be looking to gain ground on the Dallas Cowboys in the crowded NFC East. The Eagles will be doing so without wide receiver, kick returner Josh Huff, who the team released Thursday after he was arrested on the Walt Whitman Bridge that connects South Philadelphia to New Jersey on Tuesday morning. According to the Delaware River Port Authority, Huff was stopped at approximately 11 a.m. heading into New Jersey for speeding. Huff had a gun loaded magazine which wasn't in the had a gun loaded which wasn't in the gun, and less than 50 grams of marijuana in his possession. He is also facing charges for DUI, speeding, and because the windows of his vehicle are tinted, obstructed view. That incident follows a charge that linebacker Nigel Bradham had a loaded gun in his backpack at Miami International Airport during the Eagles' bye week in October. The Eagles certainly would have benefited from having the speedy Huff on the field. He possesses game-changing ability for an offense that lacks a big play receiver. In last week's overtime loss to Dallas, Huff reeled off a 53-yard kick return that set up an Eagles field goal. The return was the third in as many games of 50 yards or more for Philadelphia. Rookie quarterback Carson Wentz has completed 65.8% of his passes, but the majority of his passes are of the dink and dunk variety. He is only averaging 6.69 yards per pass, mostly due to poor pass protection. Wentz has been sacked 15 times. Defensive tackle Benny Logan returned to the practice field in a limited capacity for the Eagles on Wednesday. Logan suffered a groin injury in the loss at Washington and has missed the past two contests. Fellow defensive tackle Taylor Hart was sidelined with an ankle injury. Peterson said guard Alan Barber is week to week with a hamstring injury. Stefan Wisniewski will start at left guard if Barber is unable to play, according to Peterson. The Eagles have lost 3 games on the road and are still in search of a division win. The Giants, coming off their bye week, will unveil their new kicker, Robbie Gould, to the home fans for the first time. Gould replaces Josh Brown, who was cut by the Giants last week after police documents revealed admissions of repeated domestic abuse against his wife. Gould was successful in his only field goal attempt in a 17-10 win over the Rams in London 2 weeks ago. Giants general manager Jerry Reese refused to discuss the Brown situation with reporters this week, saying, "I'm not going to talk about Josh Brown. I don't think it makes sense for people to keep talking about that right now. I wish him well in his healing and his family and everybody involved." The Giants have yet to establish a significant running game halfway through the season, and they will find it tough sledding against an Eagles defense that give up 114 yards on the ground per game. New York is last in the NFL in rushing, averaging just 70 yards a game. Rashad Jennings leads the group with 142 yards. Look for rookie Paul Perkins to share the workload. The Eagles' defense is third in the league in sacks. Those sacks having come from 12 different players, including defensive end Brandon Graham and defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, who share the team lead in sacks with 4 each. All 53 Giants players practiced this week. Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. was one of 7 players who was listed as limited in practice. Beckham told Giants.com that he is about 85% recovered from the injury, which he suffered in Week 6 against the Ravens. Beckham admitted that he was only at 65% healthy in the victory over the Rams before the bye. So, yes, this is a divisional matchup. So, yeah, it's a tough one to call, but I'm going to go slightly with the New York Giants in this one. Number one, because they're at home, and number two, of course, the Eagles. They're just a mess. Of course, dealing with some very tough situations, especially with the Josh Huff situation. So I don't know how this team's going to recover from that. Giants win this one. I think it's going to be close. So I'm going to say 27-24. Eli Manning will have a solid game. Same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Bullock, this game has large playoff implications for both teams. If the Philadelphia Eagles win, they have a 63% chance of making the playoffs, but their playoff chances fall to 33% with a loss. The New York Giants have a 52% chance of making the playoffs with a win and a 22% chance with a loss. Philadelphia is not only playing back-to-back road games, they really need to get their offense going, as it has been a few weeks since it was up and cranking. Fortunately for them, the New York offense has not looked all that hot of late, and they have been doing their best to turn the ball over. It's a tough call, but I think that Eli Manning will be the one that leads the Giants to a key divisional win. So I'm going to go with the Giants as well. My final score, 24-21, Giants over the Eagles at MetLife. Eli Manning should have himself a solid game. Odell Beckham Jr. will be fine. Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz. Maybe the defense gets a big play or two towards the end. So until I see otherwise from Philly, I cannot in good conscience go with them. So I'm going with the Giants in this one, 24-21, New York over Philadelphia, and what should be a great game, though, at MetLife on Sunday. So that being said, let's move on to our late games now. And in our first late game, it's going to be the Carolina Panthers going up against the Los Angeles Rams, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles, California. This game's going to be on Fox, and on the call for Fox, it'll be Kevin Burkhardt with John Lynch and Pam Oliver. Kevin Burkhardt back from his baseball playoff commitments as well, as he was the studio host for Fox's coverage. And the spread favors Carolina. Point spread. And the series history favors the Carolina Panthers 11-8. Last meeting was in 2013. That was in Carolina, and the Panthers won that one 30-15. Last time the Rams hosted this game was in 2010. That was in St. Louis, 20-10. The Rams won that one in 2010. Panthers' last win at the Rams was 2007. That was a 27-13 win in St. Louis, the old Edward Jones Dome. This will be their first ever meeting in Los Angeles. They never met in Los Angeles. It was always either in Carolina or St. Louis, whether they were division rivals in the old NFC West or as they are now. So the game rater, ESPN game rater, many inquiry minds want to know, where did this game rank amongst our docket this week? Bear with me for a minute as I try to find it. Number 10. This game cracked the top 10. This game came in at number 10. The Carolina Panthers have lost their past 4 road games after winning the previous 9. Fortunately for them, the Los Angeles Rams average a league low 12.7 points per game at home. Bear with me for a minute. Could there be some life for the Panthers now? They did look pretty good offensively yet again, while the defense made enough plays to take out the Cardinals at home. Be awful offensively, and thus that limits them as a team, leaving too much pressure on their defense to keep them in games. I think Carolina will get another key win over an NFC West squad right here. I'm going with the Carolina Panthers in this one, 27-20. That's my final score. Carolina will win this. Cam Newton should have a solid game. Greg Olsen, Kelvin Benjamin, and the receiving core, maybe some Fozzie Whitaker, and the running game, and defense will probably get to Keenum and the rest of and they'll probably hold Gurley in check. Maybe Kenny Britt gets held in check. I don't know, but I got to go Carolina. I think this is where Carolina starts to turn the corner here. So they still have a ways to go after that horrendous start, but they look great against Arizona. Show them why they've owned the Cardinals as of late. So I'm going to take a chance here. I'm going with Carolina, 27-20. They'll go into Los Angeles and steal one in the Coliseum. So Michael Bullock, Carolina Panthers, Los Angeles Rams, first ever meeting in Los Angeles. Your thoughts on this one?
All right. When it comes to the injury report, starting with the Carolina Panthers, tackle Michael Orr with a concussion is out. In center, Ryan Khalil with a shoulder injury, and linebacker Luke Kuechly with a groin injury. They're listed as questionable. And for the Rams, quarterback Tremaine Johnson has an ankle injury and is listed as questionable. So, yeah, I agree with you. I got the Carolina Panthers winning this one. They certainly look good last week against the Cardinals, and I think they're starting to turn that corner, and I think they'll continue that as they play against a Rams team that scored less points at home. So I got to go with the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to say 31-20 is going to be my final score. Cam Newton's going to have a solid game. Same thing with Jonathan Stewart, Greg Olson, Kelvin Benjamin, and the defense. I think will definitely make some plays. So yes. So there's really nothing more for me to say. So I got Carolina winning this one. So Florio, let's move on to our next game.
It's our second 4:05 kickoff game, also on Fox. It's going to be the New Orleans Saints going up against the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. Like I said, it's on Fox, and Chris Myers, Rondé Barber, and Jennifer Hale will be on the call from San Francisco. And the spread favors the New Orleans Saints by a 3 to 4 point spread, 3-4 for New Orleans. Series history favors the San Francisco 49ers, 47-25 with 2 ties. First tie was in 1970 in San Francisco, 2020. And then 2 years later, in 1972, they played to another 2020 tie in San Francisco. Last meeting was in 2014 in New Orleans, and the 49ers won that game by a score of 27-24 in the Superdome. Last meeting in San Francisco, who will ever forget it? January 2012, that epic NFC divisional playoff game, which the 49ers won 36-32. 5-star classic, Shakespearean drama at its absolute finest. And last regular season meeting was in 2010, and that was also the last time the Saints won in San Francisco, 25-22. Saints last beat the Niners overall in 2013. That was in the Dome, 23-20. Game Raider. Where did Game Raider rate this game? Second worst game of the week. It's the number 12 game of the week. If not for Dallas and Cleveland, this would have been the Zonk game of the week. So that's pretty much all the schematics we need on that. So I believe Michael Bullock starts it off. So Michael Bullock, New Orleans Saints, San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium. Your thoughts on our second worst game of the week?
Yeah, I never would have thought it would be a worse game because remember, the 49ers, I mean, they used to be good, and I'll never forget that that divisional matchup against when they played in San Francisco. And I watched that recently on, of course, I have that subscription to NFL Game Pass where you can watch games from the past. And luckily, I was able to watch that again during the 2011 season, that NFC divisional playoff. And whew, man, I mean, that was one hell of a game. That to me was the game of the divisional weekend, no doubt about it. So yes, and as far as the injury report, linebacker Dannell Ellerbe and linebacker with a quadricep injury, and linebacker James Laurinaitis with a quadricep injury. Those two are out, and quarterback Sterling Moore with the abdomen injury is listed as questionable. And for the San Francisco 49ers, Carlos Hyde has a shoulder injury, and he too is listed as questionable. So yes, yeah. Of course, as I pull up the San Francisco 49ers play host to the New Orleans Saints in week 9. The 49ers haven't won a game since week 1, and not many of those losses have been close. The team is coming off a bye week, which could not have come fast enough for most 49ers fans. The up and down Saints fly back to California for the second time this year with hopes of the same outcome. The 3-4 Saints beat the San Diego Chargers in week 4 for their first win of the season. The Saints have one of the best offenses in the NFL and will be playing one of the worst defenses in the entire league. The Saints led the NFL with 326.9 passing yards per game. New Orleans quarterback Drew Brees ranks near the top of the NFL in nearly every passing category. On paper, this should be another huge week for one of the best passers in NFL history. Brees has completed 214 of 308 passes for 2,366 yards. He is completing. I just thought I lost it. Oh, here we go. He is completing 69.5% of his attempts with 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and has a passer rating of 104.7. What has been very impressive about Brees this season up to this point has been the inconsistency along the offensive line, and that his best receiver is a rookie. Michael Thomas, a rookie out of Ohio State, leads the team with 42 receptions for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. The 49ers pass defense has actually been solid this season. They have allowed only 222 yards a game through the air, which is ranked 7th best in the league. The unit gets into trouble in the red zone, where the defense is given up 15 touchdowns, which ranks 26th in the NFL. For a secondary that has 2 former first-round picks, cornerback Jimmy Ward and free safety Eric Reed, playing significant roles, allowing that many points is not good. The Saints will face the NFL's worst run defense with a question mark at their running back positions. Starter Mark Ingram was benched in last week's win over the Seattle Seahawks after he lost a fumble for the second week in a row. Tim Hightower stepped in and rushed for 102 yards. Saints head coach Sean Payton called Hightower's performance tough and gutsy. How Payton uses his running backs against the 49ers will be interesting to watch. The 49ers run defense allows 185.1 yards a game. This is over 40 yards more than the 31st ranked Cleveland Browns, who give up 143.8 rushing yards a game. The Saints defense, especially the secondary, has been decimated with injuries this season. The unit lost both starting quarterbacks Delvin Breaux and P.J. Williams in weeks 1 and 2 respectively. Breaux fractured his fibula and Williams suffered a concussion that cost him the season. This is a major reason for the pass defense to be ranked 29th in the NFL in passing yards against per game at 286.7. The Saints secondary was one of the worst in NFL history in 2015 when the unit gave up 45 touchdown passes. One bright spot in 2016 is the unit has only allowed 9 touchdowns through 7 games. That is impressive for a secondary that plays with 2 college free agents, Ken Crawley and Devontae Harris, and journeyman B.W. Webb. The 49ers offense led by Colin Kaepernick should attack the Saints secondary on Sunday. The problem with that philosophy is the 49ers have the worst passing attack in the NFL. The 49ers only pass for 161.4 yards a game and are already on their second starting quarterback of the season. Head coach Chip Kelly puts the onus on his coaching staff for the foreplay of the offense. Getting a major offensive weapon back for the game against the Saints could help the 49ers. Running back Carlos Hyde, who's injured his shoulder in Week 6 loss to the Bills and did not dress in Week 7, should be deemed fit to play. Touchdowns this season and will be facing a Saints rushing defense that is giving up 4.3 yards per carry and has allowed 12 rushing touchdowns. So there's really nothing more for me to say. I got the New Orleans Saints winning this one. I'm going to say 34-13 is going to be my final score. Brees is going to have a solid game through the air. Tim Hightower, I think he'll have a solid game as well. So there's really nothing more for me to say except, Florio, I give it to you.
A lot of information there, Bullock. Let me see. Expect a lot of points as the New Orleans Saints average the second most points per game in the NFL, 28.7, and the San Francisco 49ers allow the most at 31.3. For good measure, the Saints are the only other team that allows more than 30 points a game. Clearly, the season is over for the 49ers after they followed up the season opening win over the Rams with 6 straight losses. They haven't had a game within 1 score in a month to boot. They'll get to host the Saints as they are playing some good football as of late, having won 3 of their last 4. Considering that the 49ers have the weakest scoring defense in the NFL, that does not bode particularly well against the second highest scoring offense. I got the New Orleans Saints winning this one as well. 30-20 is my final score. Drew Brees, huge game for him. Mark Ingram, we'll see. Brandon Cooks and the receiving core, they should be just fine. Kaepernick will be okay. But New Orleans, I think New Orleans should have this one. I mean, the Niners, since that opening win against the Rams, they've just been god-awful. and the Saints, they can light it up. So I got New Orleans winning this one. My final score, 30-20, New Orleans over San Francisco. All right, now we move on to our 425 games, and now we move on to a much better matchup here. Now, here's a game I'm actually looking forward to. And we're going to be getting this game on our CBS affiliate, WPRI 12, as part of a CBS doubleheader. The Indianapolis Colts going up against the Green Bay Packers, Lambeau Field in Green Bay. CBS will have it. And on the call for CBS, hello, friends. Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson, they'll be in Green Bay. This is their game of the week right here. And the spread favors the Green Bay Packers by a spread of 7 to 8 points. They're a touchdown favorite here. And the series history favors the Indianapolis Colts 21-20, one tie. The one tie came back in 1982. They played to a 2020 tie in Baltimore back when they were the Baltimore Colts. Last meeting was 2012 in Indianapolis. The Colts won that one by a score of 30-27. Last meeting in Green Bay, got to go back to 2008. Packers won that one going away 34-14. The last time the Indianapolis Colts went into Green Bay and won, got to go back to 1988, 20-13. Indianapolis won in Green Bay over the Packers. And where did this game rank as part of our game rater? Crack the top 5. Number 4. This is our number 4 game of the week right here, and rightfully so. Who will Aaron Rodgers throw to next? 15 Green Bay Packers have caught a pass, the most by a team in the NFL this season. The Indianapolis Colts allow the second most passing yards per game in the league, 288. It would have been nice for the Packers to have gone to Atlanta and get the win, but of course, that didn't happen. They do get to return home and take on the Colts, a team that looked terrible on Sunday at home against the Chiefs. Aaron Rodgers played well against the Falcons, and there is no reason why he should not torch one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I agree. I got the Green Bay Packers winning this game. No question about it. My final score, 35-24, Green Bay over Indianapolis. Aaron Rodgers, another huge game. I don't know who the running game is going to go. I don't know if it's going to be Eddie Lacy or James Starks, but I think they'll be okay. The one question mark for the Packers, of course, Randall Cobb. I know Bullock's going to have more on that in just a moment with his injury report. Hopefully he's a go because he is one of my fantasy receivers after all. I could sure use him in my lineup. Of course, if he plays, I think he'll have a solid game. Same with Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, and, of course, Richard Rodgers. And we'll see about the defense. I know Clay Matthews is battling an injury bug. So we'll see what happens with it. But for right now, I got the Green Bay Packers winning this game, 35-24, Green Bay over Indianapolis. Should be a good one. Andrew Luck and them, I think they'll have solid game. I think Andrew Luck will have a solid game, and Frank Gore will be able to have a solid game. Not sure about Hilton. We'll see about Hilton and Moncrief and them, but I cannot see Indy going into Green Bay and stealing one at Lambeau. No way. So give me the Packers, 35-24. So Michael Bullock, let's bring you on. Let's bring you back in. Colts and Packers, our number 4 game of the week. Our favorite crew is calling it. So I ask you, Randall Cobb, Clay Matthews, are they goes or no goes?
Well, I am going to give you that answer right on now. Well, first, I got it here. I got to start off with the visiting team, the Colts. Defensive end, Kendall Langford with a knee injury. Guard Jack Mehort with a tricep injury. Tackle Joseph Reitz with the concussion. They're both listed as out. And, of course, tight end Dwayne Allen with an ankle injury. Cornerback Vontae Davis with a concussion. They're listed as questionable. So now let's get to the Packers, of course. Tight end Jared Cook with an ankle injury. Running back James Starks with a knee injury. They're listed as out. And wide receiver Randall Cobb with a hamstring injury. Linebacker Clay Matthews with a hamstring injury as well. Well, they're listed as questionable, so who knows? Maybe we won't know till till game time when we find out if they're a go or not. But whether they go or not, I got the Green Bay Packers winning this one as well. My final score, I'm going to say 37-24 is going to be my final score. Aaron Rodgers is going to have a solid game, and if Randall Cobb does play, I think he'll have a solid game as well. Same thing with Jordy Nelson. So, yeah, I got Green Bay winning this one. So with that being said, Florio, let's move on to the last of our 425 matchups.
And it's going to be the Tennessee Titans going up against the San Diego Chargers. Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego, formerly Jack Murphy Stadium, the Murph, as Chris Berman likes to eloquently put it. And this game will be on CBS. And calling the game for CBS, it's going to be Kevin Harlan with Dan Fouts. A little surprising on that because Dan Fouts primarily works with Iron Eagle, and Rich Gannon usually.
Well, you got that answer there.
Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe because it's in San Diego, maybe it's because there's probably some kind of a ceremony for Fouts or something. That's the only thing I can think of. But nonetheless, Fouts and Kevin Harlan and Dan Fouts will be in San Diego for the Titans and the Chargers. And the Chargers are the favorites. They're favored by 4 in this one. And the series history favors the San Diego Chargers 25-14 with one tie. The one tie came in 1970. That was a 31-31 tie in San Diego. Last meeting was in 2013. That was in Tennessee. And the Titans snapped a very long losing streak to the Chargers 3 years ago. Before that win against the Chargers 3 years ago, Bullock, the Chargers had beaten the Titans 9 consecutive times. Titans snapping a 9-game losing streak, including playoffs, to the San Diego Chargers. I mean, amazing. So that was in Tennessee. Last meeting in San Diego was 2012. San Diego won that one 38-10. And the last time that the Tennessee Titans, Houston Oilers, or whatever you want to call them, stole one in San Diego, got to go all the way back to 1990 when the then Houston Oilers went into San Diego and beat the Chargers 17-7. Game rater. Where do they have this game rated? Believe it or not, this game just missed the top 5. This game came in at number 6. Hard to believe. Number 6 game of the week.
That's a little surprising.
What's that, Bullock?
That's a little surprising.
I know, right? So with all that being said, with all the schematics out of the way, Michael Bullock, Tennessee Titans, San Diego Chargers. What do we think? Do the Chargers, get back to business here, show their muscle again, or does Tennessee actually make it 2 in a row after losing the previous 9, including playoffs against these guys?
All right. Well, according to, of course, when it comes to the injuries, tight end Delaney Walker with a groin injury is listed as questionable, and for the Chargers, wide receiver Travis Benjamin with a knee injury, he's listed as questionable. So, yes, Jack Conklin came in on day 1 and was ready to play right tackle in the NFL. Joey Bosa came in a whole lot later than day 1, but was more than ready to sack NFL quarterbacks. The former Big Ten conference rivals square off Sunday at Qualcomm Stadium. By most metrics, Conklin has been one of the top right tackles in football this year, enabling Tennessee to establish its first real offensive identity in years. With Conklin and Taylor Lewan bookending the line at tackle, DeMarco Murray is on base to rush for more than 1,500 yards, and the Titans are only a game behind the idle Houston Texans for first place in the AFC South. Bosa was the last first-round pick to sign. His agent, feeling that San Diego was squeezing him on contract language, it took Bosa until week 5 to get into the lineup, but he already has 4 sacks in 4 games and has forced opponents to double-team him. Tennessee coach Mike Mularkey is confident in Conklin's ability to neutralize Bosa, pointing to Conklin's work against him in last year's Michigan-Ohio State game. Conklin and his teammates up front definitely had their way with hapless Jacksonville in last week's Thursday night game, rolling up a 27-0 halftime lead and cruising to a 36-22 win. It guaranteed the Titans of upping their win total for the second straight year and gave them multiple home wins for the first time since 2013. That's also the last time Tennessee played any kind of meaningful football in the season's second half. Mularkey is telling his team to treat the final 8 games like they're starting a game. While the Titans are shooting for their first playoff berth since 2008, the Chargers are at best long shots for a wild card. They trailed Denver and Oakland by 3 games in the AFC West, thanks largely to their inability to close out games. San Diego coughed up fourth-quarter leads in their first 3 losses, including a 14-point advantage at Kansas City in Week 1 and a 13-point margin 3 weeks later in New Orleans. The Chargers also botched the hold on a potential field goal late in the fourth quarter in Week 5 at Oakland and failed on four plays from the Denver 2-yard line last week in a 27-19 defeat. Despite the steep odds, Chargers quarterback Philip Rivers says the team can still make a run in the playoffs. Of course, that 2017 was loaded with talent, deep enough that it finished 11-5 and reached the AFC Championship game despite a spat of injuries to key players. This team lost key starters to season-ending injuries after weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, leaving them with little margin for error. But any team with Rivers who is on pace to throw 30 touchdown passes has a chance in any game. Rivers has mismatched possibilities in the passing game if he can find running back Melvin Gordon or tight ends Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates against Tennessee linebackers and safeties who have not covered receivers well this year. Guard Matt Slauson looks at last year's Kansas City Chiefs, who started 1-5 and won 10 straight games to reach the playoffs, as an example San Diego can follow. So it's a tough one to call, but I have to go with the San Diego Chargers in this one. I'm going to say my final score. I'm going to say 31-21 is going to be my final score here. Philip Rivers, I think he'll have a solid game. Melvin Gordon will be good on the running game. Antonio Gates will make some big plays on the receiving side. So, yes, I got the San Diego Chargers winning this one. So, Florio, I give it to you.
A Tennessee Titans win would match their win total from the last 2 seasons combined. However, they are not favored by FPI until their last game of the season against the Houston Texans. FPI favors the San Diego Chargers in 7 of their final 8 games, including this one. This should be a good one, as both clubs have been rather competitive in all or just about all of their games thus far this season. It also is a quality matchup of one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, Tennessee, and one of the best passing teams in the NFL, San Diego. Tennessee is a little bit better on the defensive end, and it could be the difference on the road, but I don't think it will be. I got the San Diego Chargers winning this one as well. I mean, there's always a chance for an upset, always is, but we got to think realistically. Do you really, in all honesty, think that the Tennessee Titans can pull off what would be a miraculous win against the San Diego Chargers in San Diego? I mean, I certainly don't. I mean, it would be something. I mean, they would be proven. They would prove to be one of the big surprises in the NFL. I mean, they're 4-4. I mean, and the win would match their win total from the last 2 years combined. That's how bad they've been. I mean, they got a good young quarterback, Marcus Mariota. We know what he can do in Oregon, but I just don't see how him and DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry and Walker and the rest of that unit can go into San Diego and steal one. I mean, Rivers. I mean, we know how great Philip Rivers is. Melvin Gordon's been actually been playing halfway decent, and of course, Mr. Reliable, Antonio Gates. I mean, we know what he can do. We know what he's capable of. So I got to go with San Diego. My final score, I'm going to go 24-23. That's my final score. 24-23. San Diego defeats the Tennessee Titans. And now we move on to Sunday Night Football. And oh my goodness, what a game we have in store, folks. Oh my. Are we going to have some fun with this one? Whew. batten down the hatches. For the first time in a very long time, this rivalry actually means something. Oh, man, I cannot wait for this one. It's going to be the Denver Broncos going up against the Oakland Raiders, the Black Hole in Oakland. I mean, what a game this is going to be. I mean, whew. Sunday Night Football on NBC. You know who's calling it. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. They will be in the Black Hole in Oakland, the Odaco Coliseum, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. That's where we're going to be for this, for the first time in a long time, meaningful Bronco Raider matchup. And the spread favors, believe it or not, the Raiders actually the favorite. 1 to 1.5 is the spread, although one other spread I see has this as a pick'em game. I definitely agree with that. Series history favors the Oakland Raiders, 60-49 with 2 ties. First tie was in 1964. That was a 2020 tie in Denver. And the other tie coming in 1973, that was a 23-23 tie in Denver. They split both meetings last year with both teams winning on the road. Denver winning in Oakland 16-10 and the Raiders winning in Denver 15-12. That Raider win in Denver, by the way, snapped another. I mean, we talked about it just a moment ago, how Tennessee snapped a long losing streak to San Diego. Oakland's win over Denver last year in Denver snapped, I believe it was a 8-game losing streak to Denver. The Raiders' last home win against the Broncos got to go back to 2010. That was a 39-23 win in Oakland. That was the last time they won at home, because since then the Broncos have won every meeting in Oakland since then, including last year's 16-10 win. And the game, Raider, there's nothing left for me to say, my friends, except this game came in number 1. This is the game of the week, and rightfully so. Both teams are 6-2, but FPI gives the Denver Broncos a 50% chance of winning the AFC West and the Oakland Raiders an 18% chance. The Raiders want to keep it close, as they are 5-1 in games decided by 8 points or fewer this season, the most such wins in the NFL. This game will have the feeling like few have had in the Black Hole in recent years, as this is a huge contest in the AFC West divisional race. Every game is a matchup of offense and against defense, and that will certainly be the case here in terms of Oakland's excellent offense and Denver's excellent defense. I do think that Derek Carr will find some success throwing the ball down the field, while Oakland's porous defense will hold up just enough. This one was very tough to call. I'm not going to lie to you folks. But I'm gonna pull the trigger. I'm going to do the unthinkable. I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the Raiders. With this game being in the Black Hole, I think the Oakland Raiders can do just enough here. I mean, this is the biggest game they have had probably in 13 years, probably since that AFC Championship game they had against the Tennessee Titans that advanced them to Super Bowl 37. I mean, this is the biggest game in Oakland probably since then. I mean, I haven't recalled a big game in Oakland since then. I mean, because we know how bad the Raiders have been over in recent memory. But both teams 6-2. This is practically for first place in the AFC West. Although whoever wins here will probably most likely be tied with Kansas City, because Kansas City is right on their tails. So, well, actually, I think they'd be half a game behind, because I think KC already had a bye week. So this is colossal right here. But I'm going with the Oakland Raiders. I'm going with the upset. I got this feeling. I mean, 31-28. The Oakland Raiders win this game. Derek Carr is going to have a huge game. I think Latavius Murray is going to have a big game as well. The receiving core with Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Seth Roberts. I got to go with the Raiders. I mean, I think the stars are aligned. I mean, we've been seeing all these teams of destiny as of late. including a certain team that just broke a certain curse, of a certain animal called the billy goat, and also the curse of a fan who was very much ballyhooed in a bad way. I'm talking about the Cubs. I mean, if they can do what they did, surely the Oakland Raiders can follow suit as well. So, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Whatever. I do think Simeon will have a fine game. I think the absence of C.J. Anderson could come into play here. I mean, Devontae Booker's good. I mean, we know how great he is in Utah, and he's actually been solid since he took over for Anderson. I mean, you also got Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, I know Denver is the safe pick, and I understand and respect that, but the consensus by a smidge is favoring Oakland. I think it was like a 51% to 49% threshold. So by that slimmest of margins, I got to go with the Oakland Raiders. And like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. 31-28, Oakland wins it in what I think will be a 5-star classic and the best Bronco Raider game we've seen in a very, very long time. Michael Bullock, Denver Broncos, Oakland Raiders. For the first time in a long time, this game actually means something. This is, no doubt about it, not just in FPI's terms, but in our terms as well. This is the game of the week. Your thoughts on this humongous AFC West showdown?
All right. When it comes to the injury side for the Denver Broncos, the quarterback Aqib Talib with a back injury, he's listed as out. And linebacker Brandon Marshall with a hamstring injury is listed as questionable. And yeah, Amari Cooper with a back injury, he's listed as questionable. Rodney Hudson with a knee injury, he's listed as questionable as well. So yeah, this is a big game here for the Raiders. I mean, on the Sunday night spotlight. So, and you know what? I'm going to agree with you, Florio. I'm calling for the upset as well. I too am going to go with the Oakland Raiders to win this one. I think the Broncos not having C.J. Anderson, I think, is going to hurt them. So give me the Oakland Raiders to win this one. I'm going to say 28-24 is going to be my final score. So there's really nothing more to say except, Florio, it's time to talk about Monday Night Football.
And Monday Night Football on ESPN. How about this matchup? The Buffalo Bills going up against the Seattle Seahawks. This game will be at CenturyLink Field in Seattle. ESPN has it. You know who's working it? Sean McDonough, John Gruden, Lisa Salters. They will be in the 12th man. And the spread favors the Seattle Seahawks 6.5 to 7.5. No big surprise on that. Series history favors the Seattle Seahawks 7-5. Last meeting was in 2012. That game was in Toronto, and the Seattle Seahawks absolutely pounded the Buffalo Bills 50-17. Last meeting in Seattle was in 2004, and the Buffalo Bills, believe it or not, they actually pounded the Seattle Seahawks in that game 38-9. And the last time the Seattle Seahawks won at home against the Buffalo Bills, got to go back to 1999. That was a 26-16 win, and that was back when they were in the old Kingdom. That was their final year in the Kingdom. So, a lot of history there. And where did the Game Raider rank this game? This may come as a surprise. Right behind Denver and Oakland. Number 2 game of the week, according to the FPI Game Raider, which meant the Atlanta-Tampa Bay game on Thursday night came in at number 8, for those of you scoring at home. So, all right, Bullock. Buffalo Bills, Seattle Seahawks, the 12th man, the Legion of Boom. The Seahawks, can they keep their home cooking going, or can the Buffalo Bills do the unthinkable and actually steal one in the home of the 12th man?
All right. Hold on just a minute here. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's always that possibility that they could go into Seattle and pull off the upset. But yeah, I mean, some injuries I think are, especially to the Buffalo Bills, could hurt them a little bit. I don't have the injury report, so I'll just give you what I'm reading here. Of course, the Seattle Seahawks are struggling on offense, and Pete Carroll has seen enough. The veteran coach uncharacteristically called out the unit after 2 consecutive poor showings and is hoping to see a much improved level of performance. Seattle ranks 29th in points per game and 23rd in total offense after the consecutive subpar efforts. The Seahawks have scored just 1 offensive touchdown in their last 9 quarters and suffered a 25-20 road loss to the New Orleans Saints last Sunday. Part of the offensive issues can be pinpointed to the health of quarterback Russell Wilson, who hasn't accounted for a single touchdown over the past 3 games. Wilson has dealt with knee, ankle, and pectoral injuries this season, and the Seahawks have asked him to curtail his running and scrambling abilities. But Carroll said Wilson made it through the New Orleans game without an injury setback. Wilson doesn't feel the Seahawks are far away from getting the offense back on track. The Bills made a bold move by luring receiver Percy Harvin out of retirement, and the reaction in Seattle could be interesting if Harvin suits up. He was a ballyhooed acquisition by the Seahawks prior to the 2013 campaign and played in just 6 regular season games over 2 seasons before being dealt to the Jets. However, Harvin returned a kickoff 87 yards for a touchdown in Seattle's 43-8 victory over the Broncos in Super Bowl 48. Harvin played in just 5 games for Buffalo last season and retired last spring as hip and knee injuries wore him down both physically and mentally. A healthy Harvin would be a big help for a Buffalo passing game that remains without standout receiver Sammy Watkins, who is on injured reserve with a foot injury, and Harvin said he is ready to help after the much-needed period of rest. The Bills won't know until close to game time if standout running back LaShawn McCoy can play. McCoy is 6th in the NFL and with 598 rushing yards despite missing last Sunday's 41-25 loss to the Patriots. NFL sacks leader Lorenzo Alexander also could be limited due to a hamstring injury. Alexander plans to play with the Bills, having a bye the following Sunday. Buffalo ranks 16th in total defense, but is tied for first with 26 sacks. The Bills rank 3rd in turnover margin. Seattle's Legion of Boom defense is again one of the top units in the league and ranks 2nd in scoring defense and 3rd in total defense. Veteran defensive end Cliff Averill is tied for 3rd in the NFL with 7.5 sacks. Averill has been sensational over the past 4 games with 6.5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. Middle linebacker Bobby Wagner has a team best 72 tackles, while cornerback Richard Sherman and free safety Earl Thomas share the lead with 2 interceptions. The Seahawks trounced the Bills 15-17 in 2012 in Toronto in the most recent meeting. Wilson rushed for 3 touchdowns and passed for 1. So, yeah, but I think because of the injuries that have been killing the Buffalo Bills, and yes, Seattle, I mean, they have struggled offensively, but they still got that Legion of Boom defense that once again ranks near the top of the NFL. I got to go with the Seattle Seahawks to win this one. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I'm going to say 7-14. The Seahawks beat the Bills, so there's really nothing more for me to say. So, Florio, what you got?
A home game on Monday Night Football might bode well for the Seattle Seahawks. They have won 10 straight home games against teams from the AFC and 10 straight Monday night games. This is the only matchup of the week between 2 FPI top 10 teams. The Bills and Seahawks don't exactly have the finest offenses in the NFL, as they rank 24th and 23rd offensively in the league. But while the Bills are scoring 8th in the league per game, and the Seahawks are not allowing much scoring, 2nd in the league, it's probably a cop-out. But I think the difference here will be this game being played in the Emerald City, and that'll carry the Seahawks to victory. So needless for me to say, I got the Seattle Seahawks winning this game as well. My final score, 20-13, Seattle over Buffalo. I mean, I'd love to see Buffalo pull off the upset here. I mean, this would be a massive upset if they were to go into Seattle and steal one, especially against the Legion of Boom in front of the 12th man. But, I mean, LaShawn McCoy's absence was a huge difference in the Bills' 41-25 beatdown loss to Bullock's Patriots last week, which I'm not at all surprised happened. I mean, I don't know if they would have won even if LaShawn McCoy had played, but nonetheless, I have to go with Seattle here. Russell Wilson, fine game for him. Kristen Michael, I think, will have a fine game running. He's been playing well as of late. The receiving core, Jimmy Graham, Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse will have fine games. And of course, the 12th man. Then, of course, the Legion of Boom. We can't forget about them. And, they're going to get in on the action. I think they're going to contain Tyrod Taylor, and they'll shut down the receiving core with Goodwin and Young and them. So there's really nothing left for me to say. And even though Percy Harvin did come out of retirement and sign with Buffalo against his former team in Seattle, I mean, I think Percy Harvin might actually have an okay, halfway decent game, but I don't even think that's going to be enough. So I have to go with Seattle. Give me the Seattle Seahawks in this one. My final score, 20-13, like I said. So now we're on to our power rankings for this week, and I'm going to tell you right now, my top 5 were absolute no-brainers. I'll tell you that right now. 1 through 5, easy peasy. That's all I can say on that. Whereas 6 through 10, however, yeah, okay. Well, actually, through number 6, I'll actually correct that. Number 6 was actually halfway decent, but I'm going to get into it now. So let's dive on in to this week's installment. I do have some dud teams this week. First and foremost, my Buffalo Bills. See you later. They're out of the power rankings. They got beat down by Bullock's Patriots. I'm not at all surprised that happens. So I have to knock them out begrudgingly. And my other, I do have some other duds. The Washington Redskins, that's another dud. Well, actually, no, I actually still have the Redskins in there. I beg your pardon on that. All right, my other dud is the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals, they're out. They got beat down by Carolina, just like in the championship game last year in the NFC. I had 2 other duds. The Detroit Lions, they're a dud. They lost. And the Philadelphia Eagles are my other dud of the week. So that's really all I can say on that. So, but yeah, I think that's who I have. Yeah, Philly and Arizona. Yeah, that was a dud. Yes, Detroit was a dud as well. And did I have Detroit as a dud? I just want to be absolutely sure on that. I suppose so. So, all right. So with that being said, let's dive on in to this ranking. I have a tie at number 10. This is, and believe it or not, this is my only tie of the week. I don't have any others. The others are clear cut. First, my co-number 10s, Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans. They're my co-number 10s this week. Houston Texans, 5-3. They got back on track. They defeated the Detroit Lions. That was a 20-13 final at NRG Reliance Stadium in Houston. To get back on track, they're 5-3 and currently lead the Tennessee Titans by a game in the AFC South. And I will get into Tennessee in just a moment. Looking at Houston, they defeated the Lions 20-13. Game I honestly didn't think they were going to win, but they did. I'll give them credit where credit is due. Osweiler, 186 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He did get sacked 3 times. Defense got a sack of Stafford. Lamar Miller, a rushing touchdown in the win. And the receiving core didn't do much, but Fedorowicz had a touchdown in that. I think they had a special teams touchdown in this game. Or actually, no, I stand corrected. They did not. one sack for the defense, and that was by Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney finds his way into the sack counter. So that's all I can say on that. So Houston now goes up against the actually, they're on bye this week, and we'll next see them in Jacksonville. The next two games are on the road against Jacksonville, and then they go up against Oakland in that huge game in Mexico. That's that big game in Mexico. And then they host San Diego. Then they got to go to Green Bay, got to go to Indianapolis, go home against Jacksonville, home against Cincinnati, and then end the year at Tennessee. So for now, Houston is a co-number 10, and my other number 10 is the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans 4-4 on the year. One honorable mention, and that honorable mention is the New York Giants. A win against Philly, and they'll definitely be in next week. But as far as Tennessee goes, 36-22 winners over Jacksonville on Thursday night the week before. And they looked really good. And that's why I got to put them in. Marcus Mariota, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Defense recorded 2 sacks of Blake Bortles. DeMarco Murray, 123 yards rushing and a touchdown. Derrick Henry out of Alabama, the Heisman Trophy winner, 60 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Kendall Wright, a receiving touchdown, 84 yards. Walker had 75 yards, and Rashard Matthews had a touchdown as well. A couple of sacks for the defense. Derek Morgan and Avery Williamson, the sacks of Blake Bortles. Very impressive win. They jumped out to a 27-0 lead at the half, never looked back. So Tennessee actually hanging in there, which I can't believe I'm saying, but they are. And but they got a very tough schedule coming up. At San Diego, then they got to host Green Bay, then they got to go to Indy, and then they got to go to Chicago. Then they have a bye week. Then they got Denver coming in. Then they got to go to KC, and then they got to go to Jacksonville, and then they end the year at Houston. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, co-number 10s, the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans. So, Michael Bullock, what says you at number 10?
I agree with you. I got the Houston Texans and Tennessee Titans there as my number 10 as well. So there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on to our number 9.
And I assume I'll be starting that off again?
Mm-hmm.
Washington Redskins. In addition to our bye week rule, we also have a tie rule. Because they played to a tie last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm not going to move them up and I'm not going to move them down. Because the game ended in a tie, which means they didn't win and they didn't lose. What a game for Kirk Cousins, though, man. 458 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Their defense recorded 3 sacks and an interception of Andy Dalton. Rob Kelly, 87 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jamison Crowder, 107 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Reed, 99 yards and a touchdown. Vernon Davis, 93 yards. Garcon had 67 yards. Jackson, 48. I mean, very high receiving totals. And but the field goal kicking, that was the killer. I mean, they couldn't make the field goals to save their life. Ryan Kerrigan, Sua Cravens, and Chris Baker had the sacks of Dalton. Will Compton had the interception for 5 yards. And 4-3-1. Hanging in there. So I had them at 9 last week, and the reason why I'm keeping them at 9 is because the game ended in a tie. They didn't win, they didn't lose. So just like the bye, they can't move up and they can't move down. So number 9, Washington Redskins. So Bullock, what do you say to that?
My number 9 is the Washington Redskins as well. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on to our number 8.
And my number 8, I got to punish this team because they lost last week. But I'm going to keep them in there anyway because their record's still good enough as far as I'm concerned. My number 8 is the Seattle Seahawks. They lost to the New Orleans Saints 25-20 in the Superdome a week ago. And, coming off of that tie against Arizona the week before. Russell Wilson, 253 yards, no touchdown passes. He threw a pick. And he was sacked. Defense recorded 2 sacks of Drew Brees, and they also had an interception return for a touchdown, I think, in this game. Or I remember some kind of a special. I think it was a return touchdown or something like that. So as I recall. Yeah, it was a fumble return touchdown. Earl Thomas had a fumble return touchdown in that game. That's right. To go with the 2 sacks of Drew Brees. Running game didn't do nothing. Michael only had 40 yards, but he had a touchdown though. Procise, my old friend from Notre Dame, 80 yards on the receiving end to lead the receiving corps. And Frank Clark and Cliff Averill had the sacks for Seattle. And like I said, Earl Thomas also had that fumble return touchdown for the Seahawks, but it was not enough as they actually go down to the Saints in the Superdome. Shocking result there, but 4-2-1. They still lead the NFC West. They're still a first-place team, and their body of work before that was good enough for me. So I'm going to leave them in there. So because they lost closely. So with that said, number 8, Seattle Seahawks. Bullock, what do you say to that?
Yeah, my number 8 is the Seattle Seahawks as well. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So because you pretty much touched on them. So let's move on to number 7.
And that number 7. Another team that I'm going to keep this team where they are because they only lost by 1 point. Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers are my number 7. They only lost by 1 point to the Atlanta Falcons. They lost 33-32 in what we knew was going to be a great game, and I'm not at all surprised it delivered. I mean, it was one of our top games. It wasn't one of our top games of the week for nothing, you know. I mean, this game delivered and then some. But Aaron Rodgers, in a losing effort, 246 yards, threw 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He did get sacked 3 times. The Packer defense recorded 2 sacks of Matt Ryan. Aaron Rodgers was the leading rusher. What's wrong with that picture? 60 yards. Jordy Nelson, 94 yards and a touchdown to lead the receiving corps. They were without Randall Cobb. Jeff Janis, Trevor Davis, and Geronimo Allison had the other receiving touchdowns for the Packers. And a couple of sacks. Julius Peppers and Mike Daniels had the sacks of Matt Ryan. And, it was a phenomenal game. And but they came up just a little bit short. And now they got the Colts coming in. I think they can bounce back and get the win there. So with that being said, Green Bay Packers number 7. Bullock, agree or disagree with that?
Once again, I agree. It is the Green Bay Packers as my number 7. So let's move on to number 6.
And my number 6 is the winner of that game, the Atlanta Falcons. I got the Atlanta Falcons at number 6. They're definitely going to be flirting with top 5 next week after what they did to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night. But remember, these rankings are retroactive to the previous week. So just a little disclaimer there. Getting to the Falcons side of the ball. Matt Ryan, 288 yards, 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Defense recorded 3 sacks of Aaron Rodgers. Teron Ward was the leading rusher with 46 yards, but Freeman had a rushing touchdown despite just 35 yards. Mohamed Sanu, 84 yards and a touchdown to lead the receiving corps. Taylor Gabriel and Devontae Freeman had the other receiving touchdowns in that win for the Falcons. 3 sacks for the defense, 2 of those by Adrian Claiborne and the other one by Vic Beasley Jr. And a very impressive win for the Atlanta Falcons, winning in a shootout. Not as high scoring as I thought, but it was still a very entertaining game nonetheless. It was still a 5-star classic, chock full of Shakespearean drama. That's the kind of games we like in the NFL. But then again, we kind of like those games in college too. So with that being said, Atlanta Falcons number 6. Bullock, what says you?
Atlanta Falcons are my number 6 as well. So yeah, let's go into the top 5.
And my number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs are my number 5. They've won 3 in a row. They're now 5-2, and they're half a game behind both the Raiders and the Broncos in the AFC West. And those 3 teams take up 3 of the spots in the top 5. That's how good this division is, folks. And the Kansas City Chiefs, the 5-2 record, that's another reason why I got to put them at number 5. 30-14 winners over the Indianapolis Colts. They went into Lucas Oil Stadium, made themselves at home. And what a great performance. I mean, Nick Foles, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Alex Smith threw for 127 yards and a touchdown. The defense recorded 6 sacks of Andrew Luck and an interception. Running game did really nothing. West led the way with 52 yards. The receiving core, though, Travis Kelce, my fantasy tight end, 101 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill followed up with 98 yards and a touchdown. Macklin had a receiving touchdown as well. 6 sacks for the defense, including Dee Ford, who had 3.5 sacks in that game. Chris Jones with 1 sack, Frank Zombo with 1 sack, and Bullock's favorite chief defender, Tamba Ali, with 0.5 sack as well. And what a performance indeed by the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, very, very impressive. And Phillip Gaines had the interception of Andrew Luck as well. I mean, I love this team's body of work right now. They're 5-2. They've won 3 in a row. They're favored to make it 4 in a row this weekend when they host Jacksonville. I definitely like their chances there. So, yeah, they'll most certainly be in the top 5, and they could be flirting with top 3 because of that Oakland-Denver game. Let's keep that in mind, because that Oakland-Denver game is going to be very crucial to where Kansas City could end up next week. So, but for right now, they're my number 5. So, Bullock, what says you? Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, my number 5, I gotta go with the. My number 5, I gotta go with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. I mean, yeah. What can you say about them? I mean, they just continue to be on an absolute tear. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on to number 4.
And my number 4 is the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders, number 4. Tied for first in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. They needed overtime to defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 30-24 at Raymond James Stadium. Listen to this stat line for Derek Carr, friends. If you had him in fantasy, you probably won. 40 of 59, 513 yards passing, 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. The only difference was he was sacked twice, but who the hell cares? Defense recorded 2 sacks of Jameis Winston. Running game did really nothing. I mean, Murray, 48 yards. That's all he could do. But it was the receiving core. Amari Cooper, 12 catches, 173 yards and a touchdown. Michael Crabtree, 108 yards receiving. Seth Roberts, 69 yards receiving and a touchdown. Michael Rivera, 36 yards and a touchdown. Donald Penn with a 1-yard receiving touchdown in the win. And a great offensive display. Khalil Mack with 2 sacks of Jameis Winston. And what can you say about this Oakland Raider team? Jack Del Rio, what a job he is doing with this team. And I cannot believe how good this team has been. I mean, this is the best Raider team I've seen since the days of Rich Gannon and Tim Brown and Jerry Rice and Charlie Garner and when John Chucky Gruden was coaching this team. I mean, tied for first in the AFC West. The biggest game for them in years, light years even, when they host the Denver Broncos on Sunday Night Football. My goodness, what an atmosphere that black hole is going to be. Oakland Raiders, number 4. Bullock, agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I got the Oakland Raiders as my number 4 as well. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say except let's go to the top 3.
And number 3, the Denver Broncos. Got to go with the Denver Broncos here. Unlike the Raiders, they didn't need overtime to defeat the San Diego Chargers. They did beat them 27-19. They're also 6-2. They're tied with the Raiders for first in the AFC West. The winner of that game will take over sole possession of first in the AFC West. Please don't let that game end in a tie. Please. I want to see a winner in that one. Believe me. Trevor Siemian, 276 yards passing with an interception. He threw an interception, no touchdown pass. He got bailed out by his defense. His defense recorded 4 sacks and 3 interceptions of Phillip Rivers in that win. Devontae Booker, 54 yards rushing to lead the running game, but he had a touchdown. Receiving core was led, of course, by Demaryius Thomas, 79 yards. Emmanuel Sanders, 68 yards. And Virgil Green with 55 yards. And that defense, man. 4 sacks for the defense. We had Jared Crick, Justin Simmons, TJ Ward, and Von Miller with the sacks of Phillip Rivers. Darian Stewart had an interception, had one interception for 25 yards. TJ Ward with an interception for 23 yards. And Bradley Roby, an interception for 51 yards and a touchdown, a 51-yard interception return touchdown for the Broncos. It was pretty much the Bronco defense that carried them to that win over the Chargers, and a very impressive performance. 4 sacks and 3 interceptions off one of the best quarterbacks in the game today in Phillip Rivers. Just amazing. They go up against the Raiders in the Coliseum in the Black Hole. Huge game for them. Made a lot at stake. They look to keep up their West dominance, while the Raiders look to finally end their years of misery. So, my God, what a game that's going to be. That's going to be a 5-star classic, Shakespearean drama at its finest, and I, for one, cannot wait for Broncos Raiders on Sunday night. For now, they're number 3. Michael Bullock, what says you?
Number 3, Denver Broncos. There's really nothing more to say except let's move on to number 2.
And number 2, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys, number 2. They've won 6 in a row. Their overall record is 6-1. They needed overtime to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. What a game that was. 29-23 in overtime. I probably should have made an argument to keep Philadelphia in the power rankings, but that was a divisional game, and that was a tough one. So let's look at the Cowboys here. Dak Prescott, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw an interception, was sacked twice. The defense recorded 3 sacks of Carson Wentz. Ezekiel Elliott, not one of his better games. He only had 96 yards, but it was still a good game for him nonetheless. Dez Bryant was back in the lineup, 113 yards and a touchdown to lead the receiving corps. Jason Witten was the one who caught the touchdown in overtime to win it for Dallas. And defense with 3 sacks, 1.5 sacks for Tyrone Crawford, 1 sack for Orlando Scandrick, the other half a sack for Cedric Thornton. And this team keeps on rolling. They've won 6 in a row since that opening week loss to the Giants. And, they beat Philadelphia in a very exciting game, a 5-star game with Shakespearean drama at its finest, 29-23 overtime win over the Eagles. What a fantastic game it was. And there's really nothing left for me to say here except they are at number 2, and they're going to be there for a while. So that's all I can say. So Dallas Cowboys number 2. Bullock, agree or disagree with that?
Number 2 is the Dallas Cowboys. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say except let's move on to number 1.
Number 1. No big surprise who's at number 1 here yet again. They've won 4 in a row. They have the best record in all of football. And I know Michael Bullock's going to be very happy about this. Yes, Bullock, they are number 1 yet again. It is your team, the New England Patriots. 7-1. Winners of 4 in a row. They got their revenge on the Buffalo Bills. 41-25. Payback for that 16-0 shellacking the Bills gave them in Foxborough. They kicked the door down, made themselves at home in Buffalo. What else is new? I'm not at all surprised. Tom Brady, 315 yards passing, threw 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. The only gripe, 4 sacks. He was sacked 4 times by the Buffalo defense, but that didn't matter. Patriot defense recorded 2 combined sacks, 1 sack of Tyrod Taylor and 1 sack of E.J. Manuel. LeGarrette Blount, a rushing touchdown, 43 yards. Receiving corps was led, of course, by Rob Gronkowski, 109 yards and a touchdown. Chris Hogan, sticking it to his former team in Buffalo, 91 yards and a touchdown on his end. Julian Edelman, a receiving touchdown, 37 yards. Amendola, a receiving touchdown, 29 yards. And couple of sacks. Well, actually, it was Trey Flowers who recorded both sacks of Taylor and Manuel. And And ever since Brady has come back, I mean, this team has been clicking on all cylinders. And there's I read a preview. I read a sports. There's one of the sports blogs that I read, and he did his midseason awards, and it's no surprise he's got Tom Brady as his midseason MVP, despite the 4-game suspensions. So, and if he keeps doing what he's doing, despite that 4-game suspension, there's no question about it. Brady's going to be the MVP again. Although you can really make an argument for Matt Ryan in Atlanta, but Patriots just keep on rolling. They won 4 in a row. They get a bye this week, so that means they're going to stay number 1, regardless of what happens with all our action this upcoming week. And the next time we see them, they're going to be playing in what I will be considering our game of the week next week on Sunday Night Football, the rematch of Super Bowl 49, when the Seattle Seahawks come to town. And oh boy, are we going to have memories of that unforgettable Super Bowl in Glendale, Arizona, just 2 short years ago. So there's nothing left to say. Number 1, once again, the New England Patriots. Bullock, I know you got to agree with this. If I don't, I'm going to be shocked.
No worries. Number 1 is the New England Patriots. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say except let's put a bow on this edition of Strictly Sports NFL Friday with our shout outs.
And you started off, Bullock. You do it, and then I'll take it, and then I'll set up the future content. So it's all yours, bud.
All right, of course, special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, whether it's this or Ridiculously Raw or Cerebral Smack Talk or Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. We really appreciate it. We thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Of course, shout outs to our super fans, Dee Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson, Matt Ward, and Jason Nixonbaugh. And of course, our friends from our high school days, Al Bredderson, Jimmy Alden, Rob Parsons, Eric Carrier, Tom Souza, the First Lady of Strictly Sports, Kaisa Butler, and another one of the First Ladies of the Wrestling Forum, Megan Silva, to Michael Fletcher, who couldn't be with us tonight, to Hardcore Pipe Bomb himself, Derek Ferreira, for his continued success on the sports blog, all of our personalities from ESPN, Fox Sports 1, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, all those, of course, the Golf Channel, and of course, our local personalities, of course, with the local personalities for channels 10, 12, and 6, and of course, our friends from the Road Show, of course, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson, and of course, the former co-host Mary Larson and Megan Mooney, and of course, the State of Sorrell and Lindsay McCormick. So, yes, that's going to do it for me. So until Monday night for an all-new edition of Ridiculously Raw, this is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it a Fortune 4 style. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy this college football on Saturday, and of course the NFL on Sunday. So, Florio, take us home.
All right. Great job as always, Bullock. And of course, special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our projects, whatever they are, as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. You are the best fans in the world. Of course, special shout out to our to the actual First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Dee Dee Woodson, along with Kevin Woodson and the entire Woodson family. A very special shout out to Matt Ward. Of course, Matt Ward, who I'm sure is probably still on cloud 9 right now, because we all know what happened just the other night. His Chicago Cubs winning the World Series, their first in 108 years. The curse is over, and I know I'm sure he was at that victory parade today in Chicago, and I know he and all those wonderful folks down there, boy, they lived it up down there. I saw it, and man, they know how to live it up, and they waited 108 years.
5 million people.
Amazing, right? Just amazing. And,
well, it was a celebration 108 years in the making.
Yes, and I know Matt Ward was a part of it, and him and those wonderful people down there. Congrats again, man. I mean, not just to them for winning it, but the way they won it. I mean, just amazing. I mean, coming back from 3-1 down in the World Series against Cleveland and winning that and winning, of course, that Game 7 for the ages, 5-star classic, Shakespearean drama at its absolute finest. I mean, you weren't going to get Shakespearean drama of that caliber anywhere else but that. Just amazing. So congrats, Matt Ward, from all of us here at Strictly Sports. And I know he's going to keep on living it up for the next few days. So congrats, buddy. Well deserved. And no group of fans deserve it more than you and Cubs Nation. 108 years. God bless you guys. That's all there is to it. Our other shout-outs, of course, Jason Hicksonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our other First Ladies, Megan Silva, Kaiser Butler, and Lexi Calloway, and our other crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Al Bradison, and Rob Parsons. Of course, good old MF, Michael Fletcher, who couldn't be with us tonight for some odd reason. I'm not sure what the reasoning was. He posted on Facebook that he wasn't going to be on the show. But he will be back with us on Monday night for Ridiculously Raw. And of course, our extra special shout out, of course, the hardcore pipe bomb himself, Derek Ferreira, the sports blog. He's been putting out some great material as of late. So give that a read, because it's always a great read. All of our personalities at Channel 6, 10, and 12, ESPN, MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, the whole 9 yards. Status Sorrell, Lindsey McCormick, special shout outs to them. And of course, I've got some very special shout outs I want to share. Of course, the first to our friends of the Road Show. Today was their 2,000th episode today. 2,000 episodes of the Road Show. And they had a great show. Will Gilbert, Michaela Johnson, Brendan Kirby, and of course, former co-host Megan Mooney and Mary Larson. So congratulations, Roadshow, 2,000 episodes. Well done. Keep up the continued great work. You are the best morning show in New England, hands down. A very special happy birthday shout out to Julie Alexandria. It's her birthday today. Julie Alexandria with the San Diego Padres. Of course, she used to work for the New York Mets and the Washington Nationals, as well as Fox Sports College Football. She used to work with Gus Johnson's crew a number of years ago. And she also hosted an entertainment show called OKTV. Of course, she's now with the San Diego Padres. I want to wish her a very special happy birthday. A personal favorite of mine. I love her body of work. She's just a dynamo, and I love her work so much. And I'm hopeful of one day meeting her, because she's just she's simply amazing. And I've told her that time and time again on social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. And so with that being said, happy birthday, Julie. And on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we hope you have a blessed day with you and yours. And that's all I can say on that. And last but not least, of course, my church family at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Bible study. Shortly after 10 a.m. is the Sunday service. And then Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Bible study. And in a couple of weeks, on November 20th, they're having a special Thanksgiving fellowship lunch meal after the Sunday service. So if you're watching, check it. Come down and have a blessing and join us for what will be a wonderful holiday fellowship on November 20th. So that'll be after the service, around 12:30, 1 o'clock or so, if not earlier. So just wanted to put that out there. And one other special birthday shout out, the pastor's daughter, Gina Russo. I want to send her a special happy birthday as well. It's her birthday on Sunday. Hopefully I'll be seeing her. I know she's been in California doing some work for her ministry. So I want to give her a special birthday shout out as well. And hopefully I'll see her again soon. I know I'll see her again soon. I just don't know when, but a very special happy birthday to Gina. So yeah, that will put the bow on this. Of course, we're off this weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday night for Ridiculously Raw as we continue the build to the Survivor Series. Monday Night Raw, we'll review that from Glasgow, Scotland. Looking forward to that. And of course, I'll also have my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling. And then Tuesday night, Cerebral Smack Talk. Michael Fletcher, good old MF, on his channel, Brace Fan 95. We'll review SmackDown Live from Glasgow, Scotland, including that huge women's title match with Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. And then Mikey's Mindset on ROH, Lucha Underground, maybe some RWA, we'll see. And then Thursday, we'll be back with you for another edition of College Football Thursday, headlined by the big matchup in the Big 12 with Baylor against Oklahoma. Really looking forward to that one. And then from there, next Friday night, NFL Friday, our game of the week, no question about it. The rematch of Super Bowl 49, the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Boy, howdy, is that going to be something. So that'll do it for this. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Bullock and in spirit, Michael Fletcher and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend. Enjoy all the college football tomorrow. Enjoy all the NFL football on Sunday. And until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching Strictly Sports NFL Friday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For now, Anthony Florio. So long.